And there's hardly no exception. All men who are joining a men's group, they say something like this, like, hey, in general, I'm a little bit afraid of other men. Every time when I am in the presence of other men that I potentially look up to a little bit, or I think it will be revealed that I'm not man enough, by those other men. Those other men, they will sense, they will see, they will feel that I'm not a real man, and they are. Yeah, that's the thought they have when they enter a space where there's men only. And I hear this so many times, that men are actually afraid of being exposed, of not being man enough in the presence of other men. And I think this is one of the core things that I want to debunk in the work that I'm doing, because most men have this. So, and it's so relieving when people start sharing this. When they say like, and everybody's like, oh, you have that? Yeah, I got the same. And then suddenly there's a whole group of guys in one room that are afraid of being exposed by the others. Does that make sense? I mean,
it's the irony, right?
Yeah. That's the irony. That's the irony.
And it's even like, hey everybody, this is Eric from Mentor of Men, and you're listening to the Mentor of Men podcast, the show that explores how traditional paradigms and sentiments challenge men as well as women, and how together we can evolve towards an improved, healthier, more balanced form of manhood. Today we are talking about the power of men's work, and I will be doing this with Hajee Pepping. Hajee is a friend of mine and a fellow men's coach who's been transforming men's lives for many years now. And he was also part of my team during a men's retreat for 24 guys 4 weeks ago called the Brotherhood Weekender. This weekender was so beautiful. From the feedback we received from the participants, 9 out of 10, they called this retreat life-changing. I'm on a mission. I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna improve it. I'm gonna keep making it better and better. So the next one is already planned for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of February in 2023. If you're interested in joining, go to mentorofmen.com. There you can find all the details and you can pre-register to participate in the weekender. Now, back to the podcast. In this podcast, we'll explore what I would like to call the first wave of masculism. Call it the masculine version of feminism. Well, women have been fighting for many years to improve themselves and their position in society. Feminism is in its 3rd, 4th wave now. Nobody's sure, I think. But what strides have men made for themselves to evolve along with our women into a better version of themselves? So we're going to zoom into this by looking at the foundations of masculine transformation and the power and the necessity of men's groups. All based on Hajee's experience and my experience that we have with working with men. So let's get to it. And if you like this show and you don't want to miss an episode, don't forget to subscribe. So let's get to it and enjoy this show. We saw each other quite recently. What was it, 3 weeks ago?
I think so, yeah.
And a men's retreat for 24 guys. Hajee did the program for Sunday. Yeah. 4 to 5 hours of really awesome warrior stuff. Yeah. So I invited Hajee here because, he's a men's coach just like me. You've been doing it quite some time, longer than I have, I think. But maybe you want to introduce yourself? What you do?
I can do. Sure. Where to start?
Yeah.
No. So So I do men's work, and I have my own company, Mankracht Coaching. I work with men individually, but I love to work with men in groups, because I think that is like where the real stuff happens. So I do group work, I do one-on-one coaching, I do both, let's say, private individual people, and sometimes I also work in more corporate settings, because a lot of the stuff that I kind of developed in the men's work domain is quite how should I say, applicable also in some corporate settings, but maybe more of that later. So I'm doing this work I started it full time in the end of 2016. So since 2017, I'm doing this full time. Before that, I was an engineer. I'm still an engineer. Once an engineer, always an engineer.
What kind of engineer?
Electrical engineer. Yeah. So I studied electronics. I did a lot of work in scientific environments. I'm specialized in the digital domain of the electronics. So I did a lot of programming for scientific projects. I think the highlights of that career was working for Astron. It's called the Netherlands Foundation for Research in Astronomy. So we make, I still say we make big radio telescopes for astronomers to make even more accurate pictures of the sky.
Oh, wow.
So, and that was really nice to do, but at some point it was like, but I need to do something else. And so that's where basically I started doing coaching work. And the initial trigger for the coaching work was kind of my own development as a man, also in relation to my wife. We had a bit of a struggle. I think it was around 2012. We had a bit of a crisis in our relationship, but we got out of this, and that had a lot to do with me being a man. And so in the slipstream of this own exploration of my own manhood, masculinity, I kind of started my own coaching company. So that is in short.
So it's sort of like, so it originated, or you started this path, like it came out of a relationship issue, like the struggle.
Yeah.
In 2012.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah,
like, it's exactly how I started.
Yeah.
I think maybe even the same year. Yeah.
Yeah, 2012, 2013. That was like
Yeah. Cool. So I want to pick your brain on a topic, and I think the way this came into your life, also in my life. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you ran into something. A deficit, a lack of skills, or and somehow this something opened to you. You're like, hey, there's something I have to explore. I have to learn.
Yeah.
And what I've seen, and the work we do, and the weekend we had with all the men.
Yeah.
What for me is very clear is the women in the world. They have done well. Feminism has had like 3 or 4 waves now of feminism, and when I think like what have the men done on this part, because the women, they were looking at how they were cut short, and they wanted to like equalize. So feminism is really about equal rights, not only female rights, but it's to equalize each other. So I was thinking like, where's the wave of, let's call it masculism, right? Masculism. I like the word, but if you're gonna Google it, it's you're gonna find very toxic, nasty things. Okay. It's really like toxic masculinity, the way we describe it, like patriarchy, like trying to regain power as a man, but in a way to suppress the other sex, right? But I think what we are doing, we are actually seeing there's work for men to be done.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're not cut short in legal rights or bodily rights or in income or pay, but I do see something that's not really being acknowledged by society, I think, how men are cut short. And that is about how they live their lives and how they experience certain things, or how they allow themselves to feel, for instance. So since we're both doing this work, but you're my guest here, so I'm going to pick your brain. How do you think the work you do relates to this?
Yeah, well, I think this is a good question. So first of all, I totally agree with you with the rise of the women, so to speak. And I think for them, it has been quite glorious. What they have, achieved over the past 100 years, I mean, it's amazing. And I think it was necessary, and it is necessary, and they're probably not there where they should be, but so I think that's like a great achievement. And also, as you said, it's the rise of the women. So it's like they had, as you said, it was about equalizing. So they had something to conquer. So it was all about victory, if that makes sense. Yeah. And now you're asking about the men. Yeah, the men, they also have like a certain path to go. But it's less glorious, It is less. It's not out in the open. Like, it's not in the media. It's not on the newspaper. Like, oh, look at this man achieving, equal rights or whatever. No. I think the men, they have another path to go, which is more inward. Yeah, while I say women have an outward rise, in the past, which is very clear and very necessary, and but I think men have another path to go, which is the inward path, which is less glorious, which is more painful, actually, if you really look at it. And it's tougher. And I think especially men have been, how should I say this? They might have been not so supportive to each other in order to go this path. By keeping, like, maybe emotions, it's not for men don't cry, you know, that kind of statements, and that's for women, or, and I think this is exactly the path that men need to go. And I'm not saying that men have to start, crying and being in touch with their emotional body more, because like an end station. No, I think, but they need to go through this in order to a certain extent to equalize also again with the women. Yeah. And to finish this off, as I said before, I think it's very important that the men start to feel even more, that they start to acknowledge that they have an emotional body as well. And it's not so much for me that I want them to cry, or I want them to how should I say this? To be more emotional in general. That's not the end game. But the thing is, I think it's about men becoming more sensitive to what wants to live through them. Yeah? And in order to do so, you need to honor your feelings. You need to honor and start giving attention to what is actually wants to live through you. Huh?
That's even a better word. I was thinking like this. It's not about becoming dramatic. No. It's actually to listen. But I think it's even honoring is listening and acknowledging.
Exactly.
Really. Yeah. Like to embrace the full experience of being a multidimensional person. You're not like a one-dimensional movie character, like somebody else in one of my podcasts said. I really like that way to describe us as men. Yeah. We can be superficial, of course. Yeah. But is that the way you want to live your life? Yeah. And that's what I loved about the weekend. We saw how we brought men together and inviting each other into that space. Yeah. And just acknowledging each other, like, hey man, it's okay. Yeah. Just everything is welcome here. Yeah. And that was new, right? Yeah. For a lot of guys. I think a lot of guys were there. It was the first time they did something like that. Yeah. True that. Yeah. And for a lot of men, it is still unexplored territory to really start not only feeling, what goes on in your body, but also voicing it and witnessing other people in doing something similar, and that is such a powerful space. And as I said again, it's not about being emotional. It is about refining your masculinity in order to be more sensitive to what wants to live through you, because I think the world is really like in the desperate need of men who start honoring their own drive more. Because instead of copy paste what I don't know what social media and the advertisement world wants you to do. Yeah. And then we come back to what you just said. You love the group work. You think it's way more impactful. Yeah. So what I saw in our weekend was the men, they did go inward, but in exposure to the group. And when you say it's not so glorious, it did feel glorious when they were able to make the step and they were able to say like, I totally fucked up my life and this is why. And they were just, it was almost like they were putting a dick on the table. Like, see, like really falls out. It's like they weren't holding back anymore. Yeah. And then as soon as they did it looked like, what's the word for it? I can't find a word. Well, anyway, it felt glorious, as if a weight fell off their shoulders. Yeah. But also the group made it glorious, I think, Yeah. Yeah. I think what you're aiming at is also the way redemption. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Well, as I said in the beginning,
we have to define, as I said, getting back to the women. You know, the women have this glorious path about achieving all the things that they have been achieving over the past 150 years. This is being named glorious from a, let's say, masculine perspective. It is about achieving stuff. It is about, you know, getting from A to B, you know. So this is like how we currently see, celebrate also, or what's even the better word? This is what we value, it's, you know, you need to get somewhere. And this is what women have been doing over the past 150 years. Yeah. And that is what we call glorious. And I totally agree with you. What we've been witnessing in the weekend is also glorious, but not by the standard as you know, as women have done over the past 150 years, which is quite a masculine way of defining what glorious is all about. While actually what happened in such a weekend, this is like glorious in a different way. It's about celebrating what is being explored more on an inward level. Yeah?
Well, it's if I may,
yeah, sure.
So when you talk about polarity teachings and a masculine energy, is also men are valued or value themselves or their peers, and even women, they do that now too. Yeah. I think because of feminism, that we value each other or ourselves for our doings. Yeah. So it's actually really about the acts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what have you achieved? What are you moving towards? Like the work we were doing, it's the opposite. It's what are you not doing? You know. Yeah. Just stop and stand still, and now we go and reflect, and let's get fucking honest. Like, why are you doing? Yeah. And that's a whole different discussion. You know? That's a whole different way of looking at your life.
Definitely.
And I think we men, we love to not do that. Yeah. We love to keep moving and go for the next best thing. We like to work our ass off and just even burn out. We regret to burn out than to actually feel like what's going on for us. But I just wanted to say that.
Agree.
Yeah. I was thinking like what comes up from that, because it's funny. Like now I feel like it's okay to not do anything, right? And now I almost fall silent because to feel comfortable with that it feels weird, right? Even I feel awkward because I feel now I have to say or I have to talk, right? And I think that's one of the biggest epiphanies that I've got, is that it's okay to shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
you know, I'm still learning to listen more and talk less. Yeah.
Well. And I think on this, I think one of the things that I do a lot in my work, Eric, is also like a lot of guys, they struggle with a lot of things. Like is having a sense of not feeling connected to other people, struggling with their sexuality, struggling with, you know, how to put themselves in the relationship they have, fatherhood, all these kind of things. And I think a lot of these things they are struggling with can be solved by relaxing in the presence of other men. You know, that is, I just shared with you before we started recording this, but I think male bonding is actually the antidote to a lot of things that men are actually facing in this world. Depression, feeling disconnected, feeling purposeless, without a purpose. While actually, you know, when you start connecting with other men from an authentic space.
Why is that?
Because there is a place where you can find your self-confidence again. And because I think there's a great value in exposing yourself in your true vulnerability to other people. Because then you're doing exactly the opposite what most of men have been doing over the past hundreds of years, namely keeping everything for themselves, the stuff they are ashamed about, the stuff they're not proud of. But once they come clean with that by expressing all the, you know, the flaws and mistakes and the stuff they are ashamed of in front of other men, and they are not being disapproved, you know, by doing so, they're actually being honored for doing so. That is basically giving your system the imprint that despite all the flaws and mistakes you have, you are okay. And that is like a big building brick for self-confidence. Does it make sense?
Totally. Yeah. I'm looking at a book right now. It's one of the best books I've ever read. it's by Terence Real. He's a therapist. He does a lot of work on men. But the book is called I Don't Want to Talk About It. Yeah. And it's exactly about this. Men are alone. They tend to want to be alone because they don't feel they should talk about it.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk about it because it feels fucking vulnerable. And if you're vulnerable, hey, you're a pussy. Yeah. You're weak, And but what he shows in the book as well is research on suicide. So men tend to want to keep things to themselves, but that means they're gonna boil it up, bottle it up, and the pressure's gonna rise. And what you see, for instance, in statistics on therapy, women, they seek out therapy way more than men. What you do see, like somewhere it levels out. It levels out in substance abuse, violence, even suicide. Yeah. Suicide, like violence to self. And when you add all those numbers up, they're the same.
They're the same.
But the way we deal with these problems, they're different.
Yeah.
And I think what you just mentioned, that it being the antidote, that might just actually really take away the numbers that are the result in toxic behavior.
Yeah. If
people just start talking about it.
Yeah.
And I think so many men they have to deal with this something, or like I feel like so many guys could do the work we offer, or come to a weekend to be with other guys.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, for instance, an old colleague of mine, a woman, she really didn't get it, what we were doing. And she got triggered somehow. And she started sending me all these messages. And I don't understand why men need this. And like me and my husband, we can talk about anything. And and I sort of like, I didn't go into the details with her because I felt like, I feel I have to start defending myself here now, which I don't feel the necessity to.
No,
but I do feel there is something for almost all men to do. Like there's work for all of us to do because we all grew up in this society. Yeah. And most of our fathers, almost all of them, there's so many parallels in the stories, man. Like in my previous men's group, we had father shares one night. I shared my story. Then the guy next to me, he just tells exactly the same story. Yeah. And the next one too. Well, and there's always people who have excessive stories, with like also very traumatic events. But when I look at like what we share with each other and the fathering that most of the modern Western men have have received. Yeah. Our fathers, they grew up with certain injunctions from their fathers, and we just carry on and we learn from the best, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not blaming them, They did what they thought was best, and they really thought my father wanted to give me something that he never had. Yeah. And he worked his ass off for it, Yeah. But that was their pattern, right? Yeah. But still, I think I missed something there that I wanted and I didn't receive. And now in connection to other men in a weekend like that, I'm like, oh wow, I have a connection with other guys that I felt there was a desire for, but we don't do it. We don't step into that space. We don't want to talk about it. Yeah. Yeah. And there all of a sudden it's like, hey, we can talk about it. Yeah. Or we can just finally be, just be ourselves. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Oh. So it really feels like a sort of a liberation. Yeah. And I think my entire nervous system just even when I think about it or I talk about it, it just relaxes like that. Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. Huh? But this is the group. And I'm so happy there were no women. Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I think, very strong that there are no women. Yeah. Because otherwise you got those things like, I'm opening up because there's a woman in the room, and like that should be a requirement in order for opening up. And I think that's why men's work is so important to do it with men only, because there's no women around, because we men, we can do this ourselves. Yeah, we don't need women to form how we want, how we want to be a man. We need to define our own masculinity because we are men. I think it's up to us. So that's why I think it's very strong to do it with men only. Yeah, but also I've seen it always. if there's a group of men, I've seen it with guys in my men's group. You know, we do this work for years, and then there's a woman, or we visit a girlfriend, ex-girlfriend of mine, and all of a sudden they change. And then, and it's like, oh, they're all like being very smooth or funny, and like they're talking in a way they never talk. Like, why the fuck are you doing that, man? Just you know, that would disturb the process immediately.
For sure. So I always have a bit of a. There are some women who do men's work, you know, or who offer sessions for men to become more of a man. And to a certain extent, I think okay, they might have something to offer, but really, when it comes to, you know, when it comes to shaping masculinity and to invoke the man, I think a man should be initiated by another man and not by a woman. I'm not saying there is something to say for the other part as well, of course, but
Well, it depends on what your goal is in working with a woman. And if this is to understand women better, or for instance to work on your sexuality, like I have female clients who explicitly want to work with me because I'm a man, because they have issues with men, or they have issues with boundaries, and it's really about, we work on everything that's about the interaction between men and women. That makes total sense. Perfect. You know, I willingly trigger the shit out of them, and to see like, okay, how are you going to deal with this when this happens with a real man in your love life? Can be very powerful when we're talking about brotherhood. I need to be challenged, listened to, pushed, you know, by other men. And like when I think about the work we did, we also did like a lot of physical work. I don't want to go into the mechanics too much because it's. It will kill the vibe if you're maybe listening and you're kind of come to another edition. But I need men. I need fucking big, strong men who I could look up to, like, and I really want to get physical with them. You know, I had the same with martial arts my entire life. I love to rumble. You know? I love to have a good fight. I don't care about winning. Like I love to be pushed. I love to be challenged, like in that raw man energy, you know. And
well, it's interesting what you call it, like the martial arts. For a lot of men, especially for instance in South America, where actually, you know, hanging out with men, I mean, it's so homophobic there. While the longing for being with men is actually enormous. And then martial arts is actually the place where they can actually touch each other without the fear of being called out as a gay. So that's why martial arts, especially for men, is super important, because that's actually where they can actually touch each other and feel each other and be in each other's presence. And so that's an interesting thing, an interesting take on brotherhood. Where they do found it, but actually, you know, in the realm of fighting. That's a good thing. And another thing I want to say, I just popped my mind. I recently, some of my guys, a few new guys were added to my weekly group, and it was interesting to see also there. They shared also where they were at with themselves in relation to other men, and there's hardly no exception. All men who are joining a men's group, they say something like this, like, hey, in general, I'm a little bit afraid of other men. Every time when I am in the presence of other men that I potentially look up to a little bit, or, you know, I think it will be revealed that I'm not man enough, by those other men. Those other men, they will sense, they will see, they will feel that I'm not a real man, and they are. That's the thought they have when they enter a space where there's men only. And I hear this so many times, you know, that men are actually afraid of being exposed, of not being man enough in the presence of other men. And I think this is one of the core things that I want to debunk in the work that I'm doing, because most men have this. So, and it's so relieving when people start sharing this. You know, when they say like, and everybody's like, oh, you have that? Yeah, I got the same. And then suddenly there's a whole group of guys in one room that are afraid of being exposed by the others. Does that make sense? I mean,
it's the irony, right?
That's the irony. That's the irony.
And it's even like when you think about weakness, you know, like maybe I shouldn't do this because I'll be considered a pussy. I'll be sort of weak. The irony behind it is like, this is the law of inverses again, right? It's actually like, if you do the work, if you actually like step up and just you share. Yeah, you expose your weaknesses.
Yeah.
It takes so much guts.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's what Eve also said at one of the participants in the closing ceremony. He said, you were afraid, you always went away, and you came back every single time.
Yeah.
But you can only be brave when you're afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
I Googled that, by the way. It's for fucking Game of Thrones.
Yeah?
Yeah. But I love that saying. It rings so true.
Yeah.
You can only be brave when you're afraid.
Yeah.
But also, you're afraid when you feel, there's shame coming up, right?
Yeah.
And if you just step into it and like, hey, fuck, I feel ashamed for that. If you own it, you're not weak. You're fucking strong.
Yeah.
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 And that's the irony, because in that also it's also so, let's call it the polarity shift in the room. That in the end you're kind of weak when you stick to your injunctions. You know, if you don't.
Yeah.
If you're going to judge other people, you're going to be called out on that.
Yeah.
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 And then all of a sudden, we turned that shit around there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's true. That's true.
It's very interesting how that works. Huh?
Yeah.
So let's go back to like the topic itself, right? If we think about the first wave of masculism, let's call it like that. Masculism.
Yeah.
The first wave.
Yeah.
What would it consist of, you think? What is the work that men have to start with?
Well, for me, okay. First, I would like to define the goal, and I wanna say it again. The goal.
You're such a guy. Yeah.
I'm such a guy. Yeah. No, why men need to do their inner work? Again, for me, it's not so much about becoming more emotional or become dramatic. No, it is about refining, being a better feeler, and not so much because there's a lot of spin-off which is great, you know, because if as a guy you start feeling better, you also might understand your woman a bit better and how she feels, etc. That's all great, you know, and but it's even more important, that guys start to become more sensitive what needs to live through them. That they start honoring what they need to do in this lifetime. Because men, we are doers. We need to do stuff. We need to build stuff with our hands or with our brains. You know, that's because we cannot give birth to children. We have our role as a father, but we have another task to do. And I think it becomes time that guys need to step it up and start honoring what that is for each man individually. So that is the goal. Now, how to get there? First steps. It is about practicing feeling. Practicing what it is to be uncomfortable sharing about your feelings, uncomfortable sharing about your flaws and mistakes, and especially doing that in the presence of other men. I think that is like.
It sounds like you have to cultivate being a good listener.
Yeah,
but like to yourself.
To yourself. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And I think in that trajectory, you need other men. We can't see yourself.
Yeah,
you can't see yourself. You need other guys that actually, tell you honestly how they see you.
Oh, I already get goosebumps when you say it, man. Yeah. It reminds me of something I can share with you if you want. But I'll tell the story. It was here on this couch with my previous men's group, and I like to mix things up, right? Like if you're in a men's group and you keep doing the same things, it gets old, it gets a bit stale. So like I like to get creative. And once I came up with this concept of a hot seat.
Yeah.
And you sit in the hot seat, and this couch is full with guys. There's 8-9 guys sitting there, and they're gonna give you feedback, honest feedback from guy to guy. And the thing is that this is the thing: you're sitting there for 15 minutes. You cannot talk. You must shut up and you shall listen. Every guy has to start his sentence with, I believe in you as a man because. Or, I do not believe in you as a man because. And you have to suck it up and just absorb it. You're going to want to fight it. You're going to think like, oh, well, then you don't understand me. Like, no.
This is how your brothers see you.
And this is how they see you. And everybody who had to sit in that hot seat was scared shitless. And then I got out of it and like, oh, that wasn't that bad. It was actually really nice.
Finally, a whole group of guys being honest.
Really honest. And I have the same thing. Like yesterday, 2 days ago, I posted something on Instagram, a reel. I made a reel, and I was like, oh fuck, and I did a voiceover, I just read out the text. I thought, then I don't have to read it. Maybe that's nice. But then the moment I had to post it, I cringed my ass off. And I just asked all my friends, like, give me honest feedback, please. And everybody was super nice. And people were like, it's fucking great. And I keep thinking, yeah, I'm not sure if you're really honest, you know?
Yeah.
And then I have one friend who I know. She's a woman, by the way. But she will tell me. And that's the same with Eve. Like, the guy was also the weekend, one of the assistants. He will tell me. And this is something I love, because there's trust.
Yeah.
There's trust that will give me the tough love.
Yeah.
But also, this is what I love about the antidote of the group of men. You
Yeah.
know? If you agree on being in a space like that together, then you will have honesty, real honesty, like authenticity in how they see you. So when they give you a compliment, you can be shit sure it's going to be honest. And then it's actually really valuable, and you can really trust it. But at the same counts for criticism.
Yeah.
But it's the way you bring it, right?
Yeah.
If they're just busting your balls, that's one thing. But if they just say like, hey, I see this for you, I wish for you that it would be different.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah.
True. Yeah. I think what you say is, well, the process you just described about the hot seat. That's also what I do a lot in the training work that I'm doing, especially with groups, because. And as you said, a lot of people are always very afraid of doing that kind of practices. But in the end, they always say, "Oh, this was the best thing that happened to me," because it's so nice people being honest to you, and that is something we kind of, we sugarcoating everything these days, but that's not going to help us forward. I think this is like a red thread in all the work that I'm doing, is bringing authenticity, and with authenticity comes also uncomfortable truths. That is part of the game, which can be painful, but they're hopefully gonna bring you further. One of the things that I do, Eric, is like radical honesty. I did some training in the radical honesty work of Brett Brenton, an American psychologist, and it was very, very inspiring for me, and I apply this in my work a lot. And as you just said, it is about how you deliver the message. It's not so much about radical honesty or speaking your truth. Is not about bullying or talking people down. It is a skill. It is a skill to really tell something, to really tell somebody how you experience the relation between you and that person. And that's skillful, and I think that's also a lot of men should, in my opinion, should start getting better at that. Because there's still a lot of men out there that are very clumsy in speaking their truth, in my opinion. They're blaming. They're being the victim, etc. While when you start, speaking the things that you experience in your body in relation to another person, when you start developing some skills in order to do that a bit more consciously, then you have a whole different life.
But it's also what you attract.
Oh, definitely.
You're gonna attract totally like really good stuff. Good people, good men, but also good women in your life. It's also very attractive if a man just owns it. I think when we look at the toxic side or the shadow side of this, like a lot of women said, like, I always fall for the bad guy, but like usually it's the asshole who just thinks like, I'm going to tell you what I want. I don't give a shit. And then they do it, and they're like, oh fuck, that's really sexy. But it's not usually always the healthy person, But if you can own it like from a good space, that's fucking powerful. So and again, but this is like about radical honesty and really listening, like radically being honest to yourself when you listen to yourself, right? And that means also, for instance, for all the guys being engineers or being entrepreneurs, it is about really choosing that kind of project you wanna spend your life energy to, and be truly honest to that. Like, I got engineers, they work for the sugar industry. Is that really where you want to contribute? If you really listen carefully, and there's a lot of guys saying, actually, I got some ideas, I want to do this, but they need to start becoming really honest with themselves. But in order to make those big steps to start contributing to the world in a more, let's say, positive way, if there's such a thing as positivity, they need encouragement. They need encouragement, in my opinion, also from other men. And as we just described,
this validation, finding the self-confidence, that is something that you can grow in the presence of other men. And not only by sharing your flaws and mistakes, but also sharing your little ideas you have. And if a whole group of guys think like, hey man, but that's a great idea, and the way you describe it is like really resonating with me, that's what you need to hear in order to get such a small project and to make it big, you know. So and that is really why I think the men should start doing this, because these are their babies. Does it make sense? They need to give birth to their projects, to their ideas, to their, you know, how to make this world where you're facing a lot of problems right now, but how we can actually make this a better place. We need to deliver babies as well, but in a different sense.
I'm gonna give birth to something here. But this is funny. Like you're ranting here. Like fuck, man. Like I totally feel you, and then it's beautiful the way you describe that. It's exactly why I'm here, or we are sitting here. It's exactly how I got challenged by my men in my life. I was like going from one shitty job to the other one. Like I'm making a lot of money and like awards, and like I had this career, you know, and a lot of people envy me for it, but I didn't love it. And because it got old, you know, and I sort of started following what people thought I should be doing, you know. It's like, oh, you're really good at this. They're going to give you a promotion. You know, you're going to lead a whole team. You're like, oh, management, you know, and oh, more money. Oh, yeah. And I was like sort of patting myself on the shoulder. But I fucking hated it. I just didn't like it. And then I sort of slipped into something I didn't want to do. And then I was with my men's group, and they told me, like, if you have to choose one thing right now, what would you want to invest your life in? What are you going to spend time on? What would you love to do? I'm like, oh, men's work. And it just flopped out. And I'm like, oh, whoa, they went fast. But they just like, they saw me struggling. And they started holding me accountable. They just gave me the little push. And that's the funny thing. You know, like, sometimes you need that.
Definitely.
Because other people, they see you as you can't see yourself. And then they will give you a little kick in the ass. And it's like exactly what a lot of us need. And I think especially guys with a lot of potential, they want to be challenged. You know, they need somebody to push back.
Similar story for me. You know, I was still engineering. I got a friend. He said to me like, and he has some money. You know, and he said to me, Hajee, I want to help you. I want to support you, but I want you to give up the job as an engineer. I want you to go fully for this. Wow, that's a push, huh?
That is.
That's a good one.
And did you immediately follow?
No, a few months. It took me a few months to let that sink in. And, so, but that was the challenge, and that, as you just described, you know, sometimes people see something in you can't see for yourself, especially when it is about giving your gift to the world. We men and women as well. We are so, especially in the beginning, we are so shy. Is not a word. We are so over. What's the word?
What's the Dutch word?
The Dutch word is moderate. No, moderate. Bescheiden. Bescheiden. We're so... moderate, huh? No?
Bescheiden is...
Fuck.
I can't tell you. Everybody who's listening is like, come on, guys.
Come on, guys. It's this word. Well, anyway.
Modest.
Modest. Modest. You're so modest about your true gift. Even shy and
I think it's more. It sounds like self-sabotage.
It is.
Yeah.
And you. There is like this fake humbleness you throw over it. Like, oh no, but I'm humble in this, but actually you're really, suppressing, giving your gift to the world. I see that a lot, Eric, in the work that I'm doing. A lot of I call it I put it on my website recently. I put it like underachieving. This is like underachieving. There's so much more potential, but a lot of people don't live it out because they are loyal to their to the people they work for. They are loyal to this, loyal to that. That's what, at least what they think. That's what they tell themselves. But they are basically sabotaging, this whole process of giving that true gift to the world.
I can relate.
Yeah.
For me as well, like doing this work. Like, why should I be doing this? And why am I good at this? And like, why should I mentor men? Like, me? Like, what kind of man am I? You know, like, so there's so many ways you can question yourself or criticize yourself that's just gonna stop you from being creative at all.
Yeah.
You know, like we would never have had a rocket going into space if people thought like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, go fucking do it.
Yeah.
So,
but that's why we need men. That's why we need community. You know, in order to have this mirror, and having this not only the community. I mean, a community that always will confirm you in all your ideas. That's a shitty community. You know, you need radical honesty communities.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, listening. Step one. First wave of masculism. We need
Listening.
to listen to ourselves.
Yeah.
Listen better to each other.
Yeah.
Also, the mirror. So, I think this is all listening and communicating, like to ourselves as men, but also amongst men.
Yeah.
What else would you gather under the first wave of masculism? What else do we need to do? Like, what work is like staring us in the face at this time, right now?
Well, listening is a lot already, yeah? Maybe I don't see the next step yet, Eric.
No.
Maybe I don't see it yet.
I think I saw one at our weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's like redefinition of what leadership means for men. Because I saw a lot of guys who were like, have young families, little kids, or in a relationship where they lost the spark, they're not having sex anymore, or both, you know. But some of the guys are like, shit, man, like they let their women take the lead. And I'm not saying women shouldn't lead, but if we're talking about, for instance, having a young family, what a young mother really needs, what I know, because I fucked that up really big time, is stop. Yeah, I didn't lead anymore. And a lot of guys, I think, because you know this better than anyone as a no more Mr. Nice Guy coach, you guys become pleasers. You know, we think we have to be, well, not leaders, but pleasers. We have to act according to what she wants, you know, so that if we do it right, we get what we want. Yeah. But in the end, like, again, it's law of inverses. It doesn't work like that, right? I saw a lot of guys there who were like really looking at their shit, sharing their shit and their fuck ups, and they're like, I don't want to be this man, you know. I want to take control of like my life. I want to like lead my family again, you know, or lead my wife so she can relax. And right now there's two shifts in this way. I think there's also another movement going on of guys who are really want the classical family back, you know, and under Christ, and like, and women should stay at home and raise kids again, and like they want to undo feminism, you know, they want to go back in time. But what I saw, like with the guys in our weekend, a deep desire, not for that, but to develop themselves, to find their own leadership again.
So that's what you're proposing, a redefinition of leadership.
Healthy masculine leadership.
No, I agree.
But from the masculine virtues, right? And not from patriarchy. No.
Okay, I hear you. That makes sense. But I do struggle a little bit with leadership in a family constellation now. What it actually is. I mean, I totally hear you when you say, okay, I mean, I'm in a relationship for almost 23 years now with the same woman. It's great, and we still have ups and downs, of course.
It's great. 23 years. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
I don't hear that often.
No,
those numbers and that experience.
No. We're quite dedicated to each other, and one of the good things about being in a long relationship is. Also, we start to relax also in the moments when it's not that spicy. You know, it's like, okay, there will come better times. You know, we trust each other that one day one of us will say like, hey, we need to, you know, start bonding again, or you know, or do some sex again. You know, so we kind of trust each other in that. That's nice. But about the leadership, Eric, that is sometimes I like to be I like to be led by my wife sometimes, because,
me too.
as I said, it's not about that I only want to be the leader, but I do notice that, once I step it up, when I, take the lead, or more on the organizational level, like we are rebuilding our house, and the other day, this was an interesting thing. It was a bit, this is an example. I think it's always good to talk with examples. The vibe in our family was not so nice. It was a bit like, I heard my wife complaining about lack of our connection. So it was like, it was like, it was just down. Yeah. So what I did, it was just a simple message in our family, where our son is also in. I sent, Friday evening, it's going to be cinema evening. We're going to watch, what movie was it? Inception. We hadn't watched it with our son yet. He's 13 years, so we tried to invite him to watch some longer movies instead of all that TikTok shit. So,
you have that problem too.
Yeah, I got the problem too. Yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna watch Inception. We're gonna have French fries from our favorite cafeteria, Pinocchio. We're gonna have our favorite drinks. We're gonna have this, and that. So I organized an event in our own house. And bam. That was like that is also like a form of leadership. That's where you create some Robert Glover would call this like positive emotional tension. Yeah, so you create some tension, like, hey, I didn't see that coming. So I think that's also leadership in a relationship or in a family constellation.
I like it that you challenged the fact that I called it that, because while you're talking or challenging this choice of word.
Yeah.
I'm reflecting on what the guys who were claiming to want to do this in the weekend, what it actually was that they meant by it.
Yeah, because
and it's very specific. It's not as, maybe because we also when I say leadership, like I trigger you in some way, maybe because you have a certain idea of what that means, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And, but what I think it actually means, in their words, is like they let themselves slip.
Yeah, they need to stop pleasing.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what happens in a lot of relationships with young children is that the men feel. Okay, I'm gonna use these words now, so don't hold me accountable too much. Like they feel like their balls got busted, right? And that the women felt like, oh, he's not stepping up. He's not doing his part here, right? And then all of a sudden there comes critique, which they call, well, it feels like your balls getting busted. And then there's tension, and you're not listening to her. We come back to the listening, right? You're not actually communicating properly anymore. You're not really listening to your partner anymore. But then you're like one of the guys, he was sharing that he was so afraid of getting in conflict with this woman. Over the kids. Then he's like sort of pleasing, but he's not actually doing it the way he wants to. So he's a follower and not a leader.
Exactly.
And this is what I mean. Like he's not guarding his boundaries. He's not listening to his own desires. So like, how do I want to do this? And the funny thing is, if he starts doing this and he it's not about fighting or pushing back, but it is about healthy friction or challenging each other. That she can lean back like, he's willing to fight for this, He's willing to make an effort here. He really wants to do the right thing. And then she can even like sit back and hopefully trust him in that, even if he's doing it in a different way. That she will accept that it's okay. But I think it's unbecoming nice guys. Then.
Yeah, it is like unbecoming nice guys. It is about staying present with everything that is happening in your relationship. That's really tough. And that is, if we call that leadership, then I say, okay, then I'm game. But I'm not the type.
Maybe it's self leadership.
Yeah, it is self leadership, and that will automatically lead to a certain dynamic in your family.
Owning your shit.
Owning your shit. And I really like what you said about about the guys suffering from being followers because they don't have their own idea about raising children or whatever it is. But once they start, taking initiative in that realm, it will change. Yeah, and that's also a typical nice guy thing. A typical nice guy will not show initiative because that's a risk. And when there's a risk, then a nice guy will dodge it.
What do you want?
Yeah, what do you want?
What do you want? I want what you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, my girlfriend does that. She does it a lot with me. It kind of pisses me off a lot of the times.
Yeah.
I want to know what she wants. Like, tell me what you want.
Yeah.
Don't ask me what I want. I'll tell you what I want. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's way sexier if somebody just says like, hey, what you said. Like, I love it when my woman leads sometimes. Hey, I totally agree on that.
Yeah.
I love it. Like when she's really, my girlfriend's really good at surprising me.
Oh, okay.
And like having surprise dinners. All of a sudden we're like at REM Island and I had no idea we were going there. It's like, yeah, you're getting dinner from me tonight. I'm like,
okay.
Fuck, I'm totally surrendering to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like for me, it's also like, I don't always have to be the guy in the lead, you know.
No.
Like just please take me out.
Yeah.
I'll get a gift.
Yeah.
I'll love getting a gift from her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
but it's also a way of a love language, I guess, right?
Is this also?
Yeah. Cool. I think we've been talking quite a while, right?
Is it?
I have
don't
no
know.
idea.
What time is it? How far are we?
Let's see. 54 minutes.
Okay.
We're doing pretty okay.
Yeah. Well,
Usually I make very long podcasts.
Sure. But the thing is, as I know, if I really am honest to how I'm feeling, I feel a bit of a closure coming on now quite naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, it's also because we were talking about like that first wave of masculism. Like, what would that embody, right?
Yeah.
I think I sort of pushed on the second part because I felt it. That's also part of it because I see that kind of work being done in what we do.
Yeah.
I see it come up a lot with guys.
Yeah, definitely. This is what I want to say because I think it's essential. Last Saturday I went to the Glory Kickboxing. Yeah, I watched Badr Hari and Alistair Overeem, but I also watched the press conference, which was 2 days before or 1 day before, and then there was this one journalist from I don't know which website. Anyway, it was a platform, and he asked a question to Badr. Something in the lines of this, like, "Hey, Badr, there's a lot of young guys. There's a lot of young men struggling with their health, struggling not only with their, especially with their psychological health, you know. And Badr, what is your, what do you want to say to these guys, And Badr was kind of, how should I say? He was a bit overwhelmed by that question. He was like, "Oh man, that's a big question." And what he said was this: he said, "Okay." Short answer, keep talking. Yeah, keep talking with other people. And then I was like, fucking hey man, that is awesome. Badr Hari, So yeah, I kind of just shared with you, but I kind of developed a bit of love for this guy. But this emphasized again the zeitgeist where we are in. These guys, these tough fighters, basically saying like, "Hey man, if you struggle, you need to start talking, because that is the way out." And I think they're talking about becoming equal with women, as you shared about the book. I think that's where we men need to step it up. We need to start talking about what we feel, how we feel, and not judging each other for doing so.
Oh, amen. It reminds me of like Petty. I forgot his name. He's an MMA fighter, cage fighter. I think he sort of
did something similar.
Huh? A good friend of him committed suicide. And he just took the mic and said if this happens, reach out, keep talking.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's key.
Yeah, it's key. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, mate.
Thanks, man.
How's it going?
Speak to you later.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you want to learn more about what Hajee does, Mankracht.org.
No, you can go there. I got a new domain name.
A new one.
Mankracht coaching.
Okay.
.nl or mankracht.org. Yeah, check it out.
Cool. Thanks a lot, mate.
Yeah, man. You're welcome. Cheers. See you later.
So, if you are interested in joining a Brotherhood Weekender retreat, 24 brothers, we have an amazing team again. It's the 3rd, 4th and 5th of February 2023 at the Vleerhof community, just across the border from the Netherlands into Germany. 3 days with an amazing program, a great team, food is included, lodging is included. Only thing you have to do is bring your good old self. And almost all of the participants who attended last time called the retreat life-changing. Gave it a 5 out of 5 and definitely would recommend this to other men. If you're interested, go to mentorofmen.com where you can already register to participate. So thank you for listening again. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to see you at the next episode. It's going to be with Celeste December, and we're going to talk about microtransgressions in intimacy. This is going to be a good one. So see you then.